What's going on, gamers? It's your boy Solar Fury, and today I am going to be extremely casual in this video because it is time for another tier list on the channel. You guys like these tier lists a lot, so I'm bringing back the tier list. I haven't done one in a while, but I'm doing one right now, so here you guys go. So as the title of the video says, this is going to be a rare card tier list. This is a tier list I've never done before. We're going to put all of the, I believe, 28 rare cards on a tier list. There may be some controversial opinions in this tier list, as always. I always get tons of hate comments being like, oh, why'd you put this card here? It should be up here. Shut up. But for this tier list, it is going to be based off of facts for the most part. Some of my personal bias will be in there as well, but it will be primarily based off of facts, maybe like a 75-25% split. But I'm rambling too much. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so here we go. Here is the tier list. We have the normal set of tiers, S, A, B, C, D, and F. Of course, with the S tier being the top tier, and then the F tier, of course, being the worst tier. And you guys can't see it, but if I scroll down, the rest of the cards are down there. So let's go ahead, get this show on the road. I'm going to sit back, relax. You guys sit back and relax, and we're going to talk about some cards. Alright, so first up, we have the Barbarian Hut. The Barbarian Hut is doing really well right now. One of the best decks in the entire game actually uses the Barbarian Hut. You guys have probably seen it's that graveyard deck that has Skeleton Dragons, Barb Hut, Musketeer, Royal Delivery. You know that deck. Barb Hut, super solid. In terms of its stats, it has a 10% usage rate and a 56% win rate. That 56% win rate is one of the highest in the entire game. If I'm not mistaken, it is the second highest win rate in the entire game behind the Skeleton Dragons, which are at 57%. So the Barb Hut is extremely solid. Definitely an A tier card, not quite in the S tier, but definitely still really strong. Alright, so next up we have my girl, the Battle Healer. So the Battle Healer is kind of tough to rank, because the Battle Healer is a pretty dang good card, but it is really only good in Elixir Golem. You never see the Battle Healer unless it is paired with an Elixir Golem. A couple of metas ago, it was in some prominent bridge spam decks with the Ram Rider, but they nerfed it since then. But now you really only see the Battle Healer in the Elixir Golem decks. It has a 5% usage rate, 49% win rate. The Battle Healer is good, but because of its low usage rate, I'm going to have to put it in the B tier. I still think it's a good card. B tier does not mean it's a bad card, okay? So really, I guess in terms of how these rankings go, really, I would say C tier is like average. Like, you are super average if you're a C tier. B tier is slightly above average. A is pretty strong, and then the S tier would be like the best of the best. D tier is below average, and F is like completely garbage. So if you guys don't know how tier lists work, then there you freaking go. Alright, so next up we have the Battle Ram, and usually with the Battle Ram, you can tell how the Battle Ram is doing by how Pekka is doing. So Pekka, bridge spam in particular, is pretty popular at the top of ladder, but you really don't see it anywhere else. The Pekka has a 7% usage rate, but only a 43% win rate, which is kind of bad. But looking at the Battle Ram, 5% usage rate, 46% win rate. Battle Ram is definitely a solid card in Clash Royale. I'm going to put it into the B tier. It's solid, but it's nothing totally special, you know? Alright, so next up we have the Bomb Tower. So even though Supercell did nerf the Bomb Tower and its lifetime duration, the Bomb Tower is still a very solid defensive building. I believe out of all of the defensive buildings right now, sorry for stuttering, it has the second highest usage rate behind the Goblin Cage. So the Bomb Tower is still pretty freaking good. 8% usage rate, 53% win rate. It does good at kiting a lot of things. It does well because it does splash damage. And actually that death bomb it provides is actually a very underrated aspect of the Bomb Tower. So even though it got nerfed, it is still a B tier card. Still very solid. What's going on, gamers? It's me, Solar Fury, and as I was editing this video, I just thought I would throw this in there, but if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, man. I mean, why not? I do any and everything at Clash Royale. I make a lot of videos on really anything revolving around the game, pretty much. And when the update hits in August, I'm going to be dropping content left, right, front, and center. So if you don't want to miss out on good content, consider subscribing. Turn on the notifications. I'd appreciate it. Now, with this meta in particular, the Dark Goblin, oh my lord, it feels like you see it everywhere, but at the same time, you don't see it everywhere. The Dark Goblin, especially right now, has had a surge in the usage rates because bait is strong as heck, and it's really annoying. I really hate playing against log bait. But the Dark Goblin's pretty solid. 6% usage rate and a 45% win rate. It is going to go into the B tier as well. This is really showing that the rare cards are like all fairly average, I think. We're gonna get into some juicy ones in a bit though, trust me. All right, next up we have the Earthquake spell. Once upon a time, the Earthquake spell was a dang good card in Clash Royale. It was one of the best spells in the entire game, but it got nerfed, well, reworked, I guess you could say. And now the Earthquake has lost its mojo. 1% usage rate, 46% win rate. Earthquake, I'm sorry, but I'm going to put you in the D tier. A couple of minutes ago, you would have been an S tier, but now you're in the D tier. Sucks to suck, man. All right, so next up, we got the Elixir Collector. Elixir Collector is seen in one thing, and that is 3 Musketeers. The Elixir Collector inside of a 3 Musketeers deck is pretty good, and you could also make the argument that it's good in Expo Pump. But apart from that, you never ever see the Elixir Collector. I'm going to put it in the D tier, 43% win rate and a 1% usage rate. Those stats kind of suck. And the Elixir Collector, it's received nerfed after nerfed. It was made to be 6 Elixir. It was made so it couldn't be in your starting hand. And it just really isn't the same as it was. All right, next up, we got the Elixir Golem, ladies and gentlemen. Elixir Golem is such an interesting card to rank because it's so low skill, but at the same time, it's high skill. Okay, so hear me out. It's low skill because it's just like, oh, Elixir Golem at bridge, battle healer behind it, Night Witch behind that, Electro Dragon. I take tower. It's as easy as that, right? But at the same time, if you play the Elixir Golem wrong and just give your opponent 4 free elixir, it can be easily punishable. So Elixir Golem right now is doing literally the exact same as the battle healer with a 5% usage rate and a 49% win rate. So the Elixir Golem, I am going to put the Elixir Golem into the B tier. If you want an easy deck to play Elixir Golem, but at the same time, it's such a weird card. I don't understand it, man. All right, so next up, we actually have our very first S tier card, which is going to be the Fireball. You really can't go wrong with the Fireball. Sure, its other counterpart, the Poison, is better, but the Fireball is a very solid card. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. It's a Fireball. It's good as heck. 22% usage rate, 51% win rate, and especially with the influx of Fireball bait, that's making Fireball go up. And especially with cards like the Hunter and the Ewiz and, you know, all of these cards, Musketeer being consistently good, Fireball is going to stay relevant. So S tier is where the Fireball belongs, and that's where it will stay. All right, next up we got the Flying Machine. The Flying Machine is a fun card to use. It does a pretty decent bit of damage. It has an extremely long range. It's extremely hard to deal with if you don't have the proper counters. So Flying Machine, it is a 2% usage rate, which is fairly low, but a 48% win rate. And in the decks that the Flying Machine is in with Fireball Bait and Lava Hound, it is a really good card. The Flying Machine is going to be in the C tier. It's pretty average, to be honest. Next up, we have the Furnace. Furnace, once upon a time, was extremely oppressive, especially in Royal Giant decks. RG Furnace used to be the power combo. Those two used to always be together and be extremely solid with each other. But the Furnace kind of sucks right now. It has less than a 1% usage rate and only a 20% win rate. When you have a win rate that is less or equal to that of the Elite Barbarians, you kind of suck as a card, okay? So the Furnace, I really hate to do it to you, man. You're going in the F tier. All right, next up we have the Giant. Giant by far is one of the most consistent cards in Clash Royale. And right now it's even a little bit better because Giant goes well with Fisherman. Fisherman is good right now, so Giant is a little bit better. 8% usage rate, 54% win rate. I say Giant is one of the most reliable cards in the entire game. I would say it is the most reliable tank. It's 5 elixir, it has a lot of health, and it's pretty damaging once it gets on your tower. So the Giants, I am going to put the Giants into the A tier. Definitely very solid card. All right, next up, we have probably my favorite card on this list, or my second favorite card on this list, the Goblin Cage. I was an advocate for the Goblin Cage before it got that damage buff. I used the Goblin Cage in Graveyard and Golem decks before it got that 6% damage buff. But now that it got that damage buff and people started trying it out, they actually realized, hey, the Goblin Cage is actually a really good card. And yes, the Goblin Cage is a really good card. Out of all the defensive buildings in the game that are not spawners, the Goblin Cage has the highest win rate at 11% and a very good usage rate at 54% as well. So the Goblin Cage is going to go into the not the S tier, the A tier. I don't know why I was thinking S tier. All right, next up we have the Goblin Hut. Goblin Hut had its time in the sun. You guys remember. What was that, season 10 or was that season 11? I think that was season 11, where the Goblin Hut was one of the best cards, if not the best card in the entire game. But oh, how the mighty have fallen. Goblin Hut kind of isn't good anymore. 1% usage rate, 42% win rate. I'm going to put the Goblin Hut into the D tier. It's kind of meh. It's less than meh. It's bad. All right, next up we have the Heal Spirit. This is going to be the second card that I'm going to put into the S tier. The Heal Spirit is a really good card, and I think it needs a nerf, definitely. Actually, I made a video not too long ago, a couple days ago from the recording of this video, talking about cards that are broken and I think need nerfs, and I put the Heal Spirit in that list. 20% usage rate, 55% win rate. Definitely deserving of the S tier, definitely deserving of a nerf as well. For 1 elixir, the value you get with this card is so amazing. Kills skeletons and bats, and it also heals up troops around it, which is completely insane. All right, next up we have the Hog Rider. So this one is a bit tricky because the Grand Challenge stats for the Hog Rider are not impressive. 6% usage rate, which is, you know, a little bit below average, but a 36% win rate. That is not good. That is not very good at all. But if you look at ladder, on the other hand, the Hog Rider actually has an 18% usage rate and a 50% win rate. So the Hog Rider, it's kind of like the Wizard and the Witch, where it's really good on ladder, but in other game modes, it isn't that great, and it's actually considered pretty much a high skill card. So I'm going to put the Hog Rider into the B tier, okay? It's really hard to rank the Hog Rider again because of what I just described, but it's definitely an above average card, definitely a very reliable win condition in some ways, but once you get to the top of ladder, it actually gets a really high skill. So if you're not on the top of ladder, Hog Rider is reliable, but you know, it's in the B tier, okay? All right, next up we have the Ice freaking Golem. The Ice Golem is one of the most reliable cards in the entire game, okay? For 2 elixir, it is such a dang strong card. It can kite a Pekka to the opposite lane. It can really kite anything to the opposite lane. It can kill skeletons and bats with its death damage. It is really, really good. It can also work as a glass tank. You put the Ice Golem in front of a Hog Rider, and it can tank really well for the Hog Rider. So the Ice Golem, I was going to put it in the A tier, but now that I think about it, it has a 14% usage rate and a 49% win rate. And while those stats aren't totally overpowered, I feel like the Ice Golem, you gotta put into the S tier. All right, next up we have the Inferno Tower. Inferno Tower is okay. It is definitely okay. It has a 7% usage rate, 43% win rate. But really, the Inferno Tower, I feel like in this meta especially, it's kind of easy to counter. I mean, you put bats in front of an Inferno Tower, and if you don't have Zap to respond to that, your tank is pretty much going to get through. Of course, Zap is always a good reset. Ewiz, the Electro Dragon as well. Inferno Tower is good in situations, but in other situations, it can be rendered useless, especially against the lightning spell. So I'm going to put it in the C tier. It's about average. Next up, we are going to take a look at the Mega Minion, which in my opinion is the most underappreciated card in the entire game, known as Clash Royale. Okay, the Mega Minion, its stats aren't off the wall. 6% usage rate, 48% win rate. But for 3 elixir, you get a lot of damage, you get a really good defensive card, and you get a card that is very, very versatile. So the Mega Minion is going to go into the B tier. Definitely deserving of being in there, I think. All right, next up, we have the Mini Pekka. This one's going to go into the B tier as well. Again, like 2 metas ago, it would have been in the S tier, one of the best cards in the entire game. But since that range nerf, it definitely did tone the Mini Pekka down a little bit. Not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's definitely, at this point, still a better card than the Lumberjack, you know, its other counterpart pretty much. But the Mini Pekka is going to go into the B tier. It's definitely an above average card. Next up, we have our last card that is going to go into the S tier, which is going to be the Musketeer. I hate this card, but it's such a good card. It has pretty good range. It does a lot of damage. It can survive a fireball. And you can't really go wrong with a Musketeer. 21% usage rate, 51% win rate. It is a pretty dang solid card. Again, you can't go wrong with this card. You can put it in a lot of different decks. Giant, you can even throw it in a Golem deck. Balloon Cycle, Fireball Bait. You can't go wrong with a Musketeer. Even Graveyard goes in the S tier. Next up, we have this stupid piece of crap. I'm not even going to say its name. But this card right now is a lot stronger than it should be. Even though its stats are worse than some of the cards that are in the B tier, like the Bomb Tower. The Rocket is... Alright, next up we have them boys, the Piggies. Piggies are solid. Piggies are really solid. And fireball bait decks, where they shine the most, they definitely do shine for sure. 5% usage rate and a really good 55% win rate. That's one of the best in the entire game. Royal Hogs are going to go into the B tier. Next up, we have this controversial card, the Three Musketeers. So this one may trigger a lot of people, but the Three Musketeers, I'm going to put them in the C tier. I think they're average. They're definitely not as good as they were back when they were 9 elixir and they had the 1 second deploy time, but they are definitely not good either. Like, Three Musketeers are definitely a usable card. Paired with the Elixir Collector, pair them with Fireball Bait. You can put them with Royal Hogs, Hunter, Bandit, Ice Golem, even that 3M bait deck that has a giant in it as well. Three Musketeers, they are not bad, but they are not that great either. I know this one is going to trigger a lot of people. All right, next up we have the Tombstone. Tombstone kinda not very good. I'm gonna put the Tombstone in the F tier. And honestly, with putting the Tombstone in the F tier, I'm thinking now I'm moving the Goblin Hut down to the F tier, because they're both about the same in terms of stats, and they both kind of provide the same service, but they don't provide the same service very good. Oh, look how the spawners have fallen. We have 3 spawners in the F tier. That really sucks. Next up, we have the Valkyrie. Now, this one is kind of tough as well, because it's in the same situation as the Hog Rider. In grand challenges, it's not very good. 4% usage rate and a 40% win rate. But if we look at the Valkyrie on ladder, it is one of the best cards in the entire game, with a 19% usage rate and a 48% win rate, which is really, really good. So the Valkyrie, I'm going to give it the Hog Rider treatment. I'm going to put it in the B tier. I think it's a solid card, but nothing totally special. And again, it's kind of hard to rank because it's very different depending on what game modes you use. And it's also like a really good option to pick in draft. As you pick a Valkyrie in draft, I really don't think you can go wrong with that. But I'm putting the B tier. Definitely a solid card. All right. We got a wizard. We have a wizard, everyone. This card is stupid, man. 2% usage rate, 18% win rate in grand challenges. It's really good on ladder. With this card, I don't care if it's good on ladder. F tier. Boo. Get out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. So the Zappies. Supercell reworked this card yet again. I made a video about the Zappies. And through gameplay, the Zappies are a lot better than they were. But it's still not enough for the Zappies to be a good card. It really sucks to see it. They have a 1% usage rate, but their win percentage is actually good. It's like 52% right now. So just because of that win percentage, I'm going to put the Zappies into the D tier. You're not totally garbage. I'm going to put you up into the D tier. Okay. So yeah, gamers, there is my completed tier list. I always get a lot of hate comments on these videos and a lot of dislikes, because people don't realize that this is my opinion. They think that, this is the end all be all, but this is just my opinion. But you guys can argue respectively, of course, in the comment section down below what you guys think about this tier list. But I think I rated everything pretty fairly. Maybe except for the wizard, I just straight up put it in the F tier. But I think that this is a very solid tier list for sure. But anyway, gamers, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like down below. I would greatly appreciate it. And also, if you are new to the channel and you like any type of content based around Clash Royale, then be sure to subscribe to the channel down below. I make content on popular decks. I make tier lists and ranking videos. I also do discussion-based videos where I talk about hot topics in Clash Royale. And I also talk about balance changes at the end of every month, do update-related content. Literally anything related to Clash Royale you will find on this channel. Even live streams. I feel like I'm one of the only people that live streams Clash Royale on YouTube. So if you're looking for any of that, be sure to subscribe down below. It would mean the world to me. But anyway, guys, this is Solar Fury signing off. Peace out, guys. Have a nice day.